Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone.
This story begins by depicting the state of Spain, which has been facing an extreme shortage of resources for 17 months. It's not just Spain, several other countries are also grappling with the same issue. In an attempt to address this matter, the government initiates a terrible and inhumane scarcity movement, capturing all pregnant women and children to reduce the population.
We then see a couple named Mia and Nico, who plan to escape Spain through an illegal route.
Mia is pregnant, and Nico makes this bold decision to prevent Mia from being captured by the government. After paying a sum of money and his wedding ring, Mia and Nico manage to enter a container along with several other people who also intend to escape this vile act of the government.
Most of the people in the container are pregnant women or families with children. The plan is for this container to take them to the port and then send them to Ireland via a maritime route. During the journey, Nico touches Mia's belly to check on the baby's condition.
Mia mentions that she hasn't felt the baby's kicks for 2 days, which worries her. However, Nico reassures Mia, stating that their baby will surely be born safely. Shortly afterward, the container suddenly stops and opens. Several more people enter the container, and its owner orders them to split the people, instructing that half of them disembark to board another container.
Unfortunately, Nico is among those ordered to disembark, separating him from his wife. Mia, frightened and in tears, watches as Nico boards another container painted green with the number 107.
Mia quickly calls Nico, and he reassures her, saying he will do everything to reunite with her, stating that they can meet after they reach the southern port. During the journey toward the port, the container traveled through chaotic streets due to the crisis that was happening. The container was shot at multiple times, causing holes in various parts. Through these holes, Mia saw many pregnant women and children being forcibly detained by the police. The container named Nowhere, which transported Mia, stopped at a checkpoint where the police would inspect the container passing through the streets to ensure that no one was crossing the port illegally.
Fortunately, the container was designed with 2 compartments so that the police couldn't see the hidden people.
However, the police were already suspicious of this, so they fired at what was supposed to be the container's rear, and the inspector outside observed where the shot came out. They found out and discovered that someone was indeed hiding inside. Thus, they were discovered, and the inspection leader said he knew they were there, telling them to come out. He promised not to hurt them and that they would take them to a safe place. None of the passengers dared to reveal themselves, and Mia, seeing some boxes on that side where they were, chose to climb on them and hide, not believing those words. No one responded for a few seconds, and before the guy ordered them to shoot, with no choice, one of the women opened the door. This, however, turned out to be a terrible trap because the villains shot and killed everyone who was there, including children. After this cruelty and another display of human irrationality, the container was cleaned and then sent to continue its journey, where only Mia survived. She immediately sent a message to Nico, asking him to hide because she didn't want to lose him. The cargo continued its journey and finally arrived at the southern port. The container and several others were loaded onto a ship and would be sent to Ireland. Up to that moment, Mia continued trying to contact Nico but received no response. When night fell, the cargo ship was shaken by a strong storm in the middle of the ocean. Mia, inside the container, screamed for help, but no one could hear her. Unfortunately, the ship's officers couldn't get everyone out in time, and some containers ended up falling into the sea due to the increasingly strong swells. This incident caused the container Mia was in to be tossed, and she lost consciousness with a strong blow. A few hours later, Mia wakes up with the container beginning to flood due to the water entering through the small holes. She looked through the opening and could only see the vast ocean and some containers that were already almost submerged. Now, Mia was trapped inside a container and would have to survive until she received help. Shortly after, Mia sees the green container with the number 107 beginning to sink slowly, and she hears the screams of the people inside it. Mia panics, concerned about Nico's safety, whom she still couldn't contact. As the day darkened, Mia began to lose the will to survive. She picked up a folding knife nearby and planned to end it all right there. But then her stomach moved, indicating that her baby was alive, even after all that misfortune. This made Mia abandon her previous intention, and she chose to survive. The next day, determined to survive inside that container, she began to gather the objects that were there, including 2 bottles of water, a flashlight, a lighter, an iron drill, and a few other things. Shortly afterward, Mia received a call from Nico. To her surprise and happiness, Nico was still alive.
The driver who was taking the container he was in deceived them and left them outside the city after hearing what happened to the container Mia was in. Nico asked Mia to stay calm and promised to rescue her soon. On the following night, Mia's container was hit by a strong windstorm. She struggled with all her might, but to complicate matters, it seemed that she would give birth amidst the storm. So it didn't take long, and indeed, the time for childbirth arrived, and Mia found herself in a big problem. With no medical equipment and certainly no assistance, she would have to give birth on her own. In those terribly dire circumstances, the baby was born amidst darkness and cold. Mia was scared, thinking the baby hadn't been born alive, but soon, he began to cry, to her relief. However, she would face a great challenge ahead, where without any medical supplies available, alone in those conditions, and with no food, she needed to be very strong and resourceful to survive along with her baby. It was already the third day that Mia was in that container and the first with her baby, who cried incessantly, presumably due to hunger. But Mia was unable to get her baby to latch onto her breast. When he quieted down a bit, she went to feed herself to produce milk as well. Soon, the baby started crying again, but again, Mia couldn't get him to latch. She then saw the drill she had found earlier and had the idea to drill the roof with it. Mia did that, but her baby now cried uncontrollably, and she became desperate because she couldn't get him to stop crying. Only after some time and a lot of persistence, in yet another attempt, Mia managed to get her baby to latch, giving her some relief amid that sad situation they were in. After eating and resting for a bit, Mia went back to drilling the roof. However, at a certain point, with very little left to finish, the drill ran out of battery and became unusable, leaving Mia frustrated and hopeless about it working. After that, Mia tried to turn on one of her two cell phones. The larger one did turn on, but as its screen was severely damaged, she couldn't access it. This made her highly frustrated, and she started throwing things, but soon stopped when she saw that one of the containers had a knife with various tools in it, including a mini saw. Mia then started using it to slowly saw what was left to open a hole in the container's roof. With her hand all calloused and sore, she attended to her baby's needs, who was crying due to the intense heat inside. It was already night, and she hadn't eaten anything for a long time. Mia got up to see if she could find something, but all she found was the container where she had placed the placenta with the umbilical cord. So, desperate and very hungry, she decided to eat it herself. Suddenly, she began to hear a strange sound from outside. She looked through one of the holes but was startled by something advancing against the container. Mia took her daughter in her arms and, with a piece of wood, hit the walls to try to scare away whatever was outside. Mia had almost completed sawing the opening in the roof when her saw broke. Her water ran out, and she considered drinking the ocean water inside. When she saw drops of condensed water on the container's ceiling, she tried to quench her thirst by licking the ceiling. Some moments later, Mia was dozing while sitting next to one of the boxes when a paper airplane landed on her, and a little girl appeared at the back of the container, heading toward her. It's clear that this is just a hallucination of Mia's, but it shows that the girl is her daughter. The girl asks why Mia let them take her away, and Mia, crying, apologizes, and the girl goes away, disappearing into the darkness. Next, Nico appears, comforting her, saying it wasn't her fault. A few hours later, Mia wakes up with drops falling on her. It's raining, and Mia quickly grabs several containers to use as receptacles and store water. Mia, now recovered from exhaustion, uses a belt that was holding one of the boxes to secure it to the already cut part of the iron and starts pulling. Her effort pays off, and she finally manages to open it, giving her a view of the sky, which makes her very happy. However, the challenge is still great, just like the sea around her. Mia spends some time outside the container, and while changing her baby's clothes, she notices fish nearby. With a lot of hunger, she improvises a harpoon to catch some for food. Unfortunately, after many attempts, she fails. She spots an airplane passing above her and descends to grab something to reflect the sunlight, but upon climbing back up, in her desperation, she injures her thigh badly. Nevertheless, she still sends out a distress signal, hoping to have been seen. She returns inside and stitches up her wound to prevent infection and further worsening. For this, she uses the filaments of several earphones she found inside one of the containers. During the night, Mia improvises a fishing net using more of these earphones, and at dawn, she goes fishing. This time, she is successful and finally gets something to eat, even though it's raw. On the 9th day, Mia continues to draw water through a hole to delay it from filling up to where her baby is. She also writes some SOS messages and stores them in containers to cast into the sea, hoping that someone, sooner or later, will find them. 3 more days pass, and the arduous struggle continues.
Later, Mia talks to her baby and shows some photos of her family, lamenting being far from them. She tells how she lost her daughter when the cruel population reduction regime was imposed, and they had to stay locked up. But after a while, her daughter couldn't bear staying confined in such a small place. So, after much insistence, Mia allowed her to go out for just 5 minutes. Unfortunately, that was enough for her to be seen and taken away by her parents. Mia blames herself for the tragedy that happened. On that early morning, Mia's baby begins to feel very cold. So, Mia quickly improvises a small flame inside a thermos bottle using alcohol and manages to warm herself and her baby with it before they go back to sleep. Meanwhile, the container continues to drift aimlessly in the vast ocean. Sometime later, Mia wakes up with something hitting the container. She goes to check what it is, taking her baby along. She climbs up and sees that it's just one of the containers she had thrown into the sea. Suddenly, her cell phone gets a signal, and her husband calls, unfortunately to deliver sad news to her. He says he couldn't escape safely, got injured, and is now hiding in a container. He's also losing a lot of blood, so he won't be able to save her. Mia is devastated, but amidst her sorrow, she tells him that their daughter is alive and surviving there with her. Then Mia puts Nico on the phone to talk to their daughter, and he tells her how much he loves her and that no matter what happens, her mother will always be there with her. Mia finally says the name she gave to their daughter, Noah. Unfortunately, the call ends, and Mia breaks down in tears, no longer hopeful of seeing her husband again. Mia then spots a seagull and realizes she's not very far from solid ground. Later, at night, a hole in the container causes water to enter more rapidly, and seeing that, Mia decides to retrieve some items she had left inside. Suddenly, the container begins to sink faster, which terrifies her even more. She accidentally gets her leg tangled in some of the safety belts from the container's boxes and becomes trapped. Fortunately, she uses her pocket knife and cuts the rope, managing to get out. However, when she reaches the surface, she notices that Noah is drifting away from her, and worse, she doesn't know which direction she went. Suddenly, a large whale passes beneath Mia, scaring her, but it only passes by. Mia continues to call for her daughter, but the baby remains calm. Something good happens. The large whale approaches Noah and, by spouting water upward, inadvertently splashes her, making her cry. Mia hears her and quickly swims toward the cries, finding her daughter and clinging to the makeshift raft. At dawn, almost collapsing, Mia tosses some fish into the water to attract more seagulls, in one last desperate attempt to be seen by someone. Fortunately, it doesn't take long, and Mia sees the birds approaching. This turns out to be a sign for someone passing by. At a certain time of day, a boat with a family notices the birds in the distance, becomes suspicious, and approaches to see what it is. They see only the raft and pull it onto their boat. Inside, they find Noah, a surprise for them as they can't comprehend how that baby ended up there. Then, the woman notices a cord made of threads submerged in the sea, so she quickly pulls it, and to her surprise, Mia is pulled back to the surface. Having lost her strength, she slipped off the small boat and drowned. The couple takes her out of the water, and the woman tries to revive Mia. With no response, she thinks of giving up, but upon seeing little Noah crying, she insists on trying to save her again. Fortunately, Mia returns to life, and the couple is relieved. Mia then asks for Noah in her arms, taking a while to believe that they have finally been saved. She holds her daughter after enduring that terrible nightmare.